The free throw is a fundamental skill in the game of basketball. It seems like such an easy skill at first, as all you have to do is shoot the ball into the hoop. However, it takes countless hours of teaching and practice to master the free throw. We see many basketball athletes miss free throws on a regular basis, proving that the skill isn't as easy as it seems. A free throw is rewarded when a foul is committed on a player during the act of shooting. They then perform a free throw at the free throw line with no defense. For our assignment, we'll be putting together a 4-week training program for a novice that includes tips and drills to help them try to master the free throw shot. Now, I will run through some critical elements of the skill, how we can measure the performance of the learner, and what would be expected during the progression of the learner during the 4-week training program.
The free throw shot can be classified as a gross motor skill as you are utilizing major muscle groups to perform the tasks, such as your legs. However, it can still be classified as a fine motor skill as it requires you to be very precise with very fine movements to execute the task. The free throw can be classified as a discrete skill as it has a distinct start and finish, being the start is throwing the ball from the line and then either having the ball to go into the hoop or missing the hoop. And finally, it is a closed skill as it is just you trying to get the ball into the hoop. There is no defenders involved and it takes place in a stable environment where the athlete or performer will know what to do, although there will be pressure involved with crowds and opposition teams providing mental pressure that can cause the skill to be more opened.
To see the expected progression of the learner, we have to look at FIT's 3 stages of learning, which are cognitive. During this initial stage of motor learning, the goal is to develop an overall understanding of the skill. The learner must determine what the objective of the skill is and begin to process environmental factors that will affect their ability to produce the skill. The teacher must also do their best to provide an optimal environment for learning, which may mean removing large distractions. The next stage of learning is the associative stage. During this stage, the learner begins to demonstrate a more refined movement through practice. Now that the learner has had some practice and has identified various stimuli that may occur, they can focus on how to do, moving on from what to do in the first stage. Here, visual cues become less important and proprioceptive cues become very important. Proprioceptive cues refer to the learner focusing more on how the body is moving in space and what input is being felt from their joints and muscles. The final stage of learning is the autonomous stage. During this stage of learning, the motor skill becomes mostly automatic. Progression to this level of learning allows the learner to perform the skill in any environment with little cognitive involvement compared to the first stage, displaying little errors. Our measurement of performance and learning is to tally up the number of successful free throw shots in a pre and post test. This is an example of quantitative measurement. For qualitative data, we've decided to measure how the shooting form looks as the participant shoots the free throw. So anywhere between 1.1 to 5 would be graded as poor. Anything from 5 to 8 would be graded as good, and anything from 8 to 10 would be graded as a perfect shooting form. So this is our footage of our pre-test results. As you can see, our participant only made 1 out of possible 10 free throw attempts, and his quality of form is only at a 21% out of 100, which the coach graded. So you can see that his shooting form is relatively poor, and we have a lot of things to work on during this 4-week period. In order to plan a 4-week training program for our novice, we need to structure the program that is specific to the learner's needs. There is no point in making them practice 3-point shooting when we want them to improve their 3-throw shot. Part and whole are both types of practices that can be put in place to aid a learner. Part practice involves a breakdown of the skill into its natural parts or segments, practicing those parts separately until they are learnt, and then integrating them to perform the skill in its entirety. Whereas whole practice gets the learner to begin practicing the skill in all of its parts in the right order from the start of their training. Three throw shooting is recommended to be practiced as a whole as it is low in complexity and high in organization. In terms of training, we recommend that sessions will be short, sharp, and frequent. We want to keep the learner motivated and engaged during the 4-week training program. Quick sessions that are straight to the point and easy to demonstrate and teach are the best ways for the learner to be consistently engaged in the sessions. In training, we have decided to focus on the 5 key areas of the three throw shot. These include stance, the use of legs to generate power, elbows are tucked in and in line with the ring, and finally, following through with shooting hand. In week 1 of the 4-week training program, we have a goal of teaching and developing the follow-through component of the three throw. We have designed a drill that allows the learner to practice the follow-through using as little leg power as possible. We want the learner to have a better understanding of the skill and provide feedback when required, making sure they focus on the flick of the wrist when the ball being released and allowing backspin of the ball. In week 2, we emphasize the importance of using legs to generate power of the three throw. This allows for greater control and balance and is a vital component of the three throw. The goal is to get the learner to better understand the importance of how legs can be used as a tool to generate power. The learner really needs to focus on bending the legs and generating that power through the summation of force. Week 3 is all about developing a three throw routine that works best for the learner. Many basketball athletes have had the same routine since they first started playing basketball and it becomes a second nature to them. This allows the learner to become more consistent when taking three throws for better accuracy. Here, we continue to refine the player's technique by using verbal cues such as stance, elbows tucked, and follow through. In the final weeks of the training program, our aim is to put in place the previous week's exercises into practice and really get the technique spot on in preparation to the post-testing. Training might get boring and repetitive, so by creating games and goals for the learner, such as getting a certain number of shots in a row, can be used as motivation in order for them to continue to be focused during the program. As expected, the 4-week training program led to an increase in success rate at the free throw line, with a success rate of 50%, an increase of 40% from pre-testing results. As you can see from the learner's technique, it is greatly improved in comparison to the pre-testing results. The quality of form is up with an increase of 39% as it now sits at 61%. This concludes our presentation of how to better improve a novice three throw skill through the use of a 4-week training program. Thank you.